Last year, illegal immigrant encounters at the U.S. southern border hit a record-breaking 2.48 million. The United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave, blessed with apple pie, baseball, and most importantly, the American dream. But that dream is slowly turning into a nightmare due to a major immigration crisis. With immigrants making up nearly 15% of the entire population, there's a growing concern that the current demographic balance could shift dramatically. Here's why America is putting up a no vacancy sign for immigrants, hoping to avoid a nationwide identity crisis. What has pushed America to the edge? Immigration has become the most important problem facing the U.S., surpassing concerns about the government, the economy, and inflation. This marks the first time since 2019 that immigration has topped the list, driven by a record number of border crossings and the stress on social services in U.S. cities. Each year, hundreds of thousands of aliens deliberately violate the nation's laws by unlawfully crossing U.S. borders. Today, there are an estimated 17 million illegal immigrants currently residing in the United States. Just in September alone, there were 269,735 encounters along the southern border, the most ever recorded in a single month. Illegal immigration causes an enormous drain on public funds and strains public services such as education, healthcare, and housing. Communities are overwhelmed by crowded classrooms and limited affordable housing, which further exacerbates the strain on precious natural resources. The issues at the U.S. border are far from being resolved. In 2024, Senate Republicans blocked a bipartisan proposal aimed at reducing the unprecedented number of illegal border crossings. This is just the latest hurdle, as the U.S. immigration system has been dysfunctional for decades. The last major reform occurred in 1986, and since then, both presidents and Congress have continuously struggled to implement effective changes. In 2024, the number of illegal immigrants from India, China, Africa, and the Middle East crossing the U.S. border has seen significant increases. Specifically, there has been a noticeable surge in Chinese nationals, with over 24,000 apprehended at the southwest border in just the first half of the fiscal year 2024, a drastic rise compared to previous years. Additionally, nearly 97,000 Indian nationals were apprehended while attempting to cross the border illegally between October 2022 and September 2023. Last year, the government allocated $22.4 billion to immigration and border security. When adjusted for inflation, this represents the third highest spending level since at least 1980. What's driving America's tough new immigration policies? A record-high 55% of U.S. adults now view illegal immigration as a critical threat to national security. This growing concern is reflected in the poor job approval ratings for Congress, particularly regarding its handling of immigration and foreign aid. President Biden's handling of immigration is a significant factor in his low approval ratings, with only 28% of Americans approving of his immigration policies. High-profile cases of violent crimes committed by undocumented immigrants receive extensive media coverage, fueling public anxiety. Illegal immigrants are overrepresented in federal prison populations compared to their share of the population, reinforcing narratives of insecurity. Additionally, gangs predominantly composed of individuals with a migration background control about 60% of the country, engaging in criminal activities such as drug trafficking and fraud. Mexican immigrants made up 23% of the U.S. immigrant population in 2022, down from 29% in 2010. The next largest groups of immigrants came from India and China, including Hong Kong and Macau, but not Taiwan, with about 2.8 million people from India and 2.5 million from China. These groups each made up 6% and 5% of all immigrants, respectively. Other major countries of origin included the Philippines, 4%, El Salvador, Vietnam, Cuba, and the Dominican Republic, each 3%, and Guatemala and Korea, each 2%. In the lead-up to the midterm elections, Republicans had planned to introduce policies similar to those of the Trump administration to reduce illegal immigration, though many of these efforts were seen as symbolic. The GOP aims to hold the Biden administration accountable for its handling of immigration, with potential investigations into Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and the possibility of an impeachment inquiry.
This week, we will vote to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
These articles are the product of a deliberate, thoughtful, and fair investigation.
There is no greater impeachable offense.
You have a short time coming
With a divided Congress, achieving comprehensive immigration reform is unlikely. The U.S. hosts more foreign-born residents than any other country, with immigrants composing nearly 15% of the population in 2024. Despite this significant presence, Congress has struggled to address immigration challenges comprehensively. While 70% of Americans view legal immigration positively, the majority see illegal immigration as a national security threat. Major legislative attempts at immigration reform have failed, shifting many decisions to the executive and judicial branches. President Biden has taken steps to undo Trump-era policies, leading to a historic surge in border apprehensions and legal battles over programs like DACA and Remain in Mexico. Biden's plans to expand immigration aim to address labor shortages and a declining birth rate by prioritizing skilled immigrants. This includes new programs to admit 30,000 migrants per month from countries like Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, alongside stricter measures to prevent unlawful border crossings. Immigration has become the most politically polarizing issue in the United States, with a significant gap between Republicans, 48%, and Democrats, 8%, who consider it the top problem. This persistent focus on immigration reflects broader concerns about national security and the economic impact of undocumented migrants. President Biden's handling of immigration has been poorly rated, contributing to his overall low approval ratings. As the 2024 presidential election approaches, immigration remains a critical and contentious issue for both parties. Former President Donald Trump, the Republican Party presidential candidate, has always actively voiced his opposition to immigration. There is speculation that Americans may favor Trump over Biden in the next election. There is a stark difference in the political values of Biden and Trump supporters on key cultural issues, including immigration. 63% of Trump supporters favor the deportation of all undocumented immigrants, compared to just 11% of Biden supporters. Efforts to curb illegal immigration include deterrence, apprehension, and removal. Deterrence involves fully funding border enforcement, ending catch-and-release policies, and eliminating welfare incentives. Apprehension focuses on detaining and deporting illegal aliens, with a need for Congress to act. Removal policies include legislation like H.R. 2, Secure the Border Act of 2023, which mandates the resumption of border wall construction and other measures, and H.R. 4238, Kate's Law, which imposes harsher penalties on repeat offenders. Other bills address various aspects of immigration control, aiming to secure borders and ensure public safety. Why are Americans so worried about immigration now? A major shift in American attitudes towards immigration is very visible. While 57% of U.S. adults still see openness to immigrants as essential to national identity, this is a decrease from 66% in July 2021. Concerns about losing national identity if the U.S. is too open to immigrants have increased, particularly among Republicans, 72%. The failure of a $118.3 billion immigration deal in Congress has heightened frustrations. This package included enhanced border security, aid for refugees, and significant changes to the asylum system. Voters are divided on which party handles immigration better, with 41% favoring Republicans and 29% favoring Democrats. A large percentage of Americans are critical of the government's handling of immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border, with 73% expressing dissatisfaction and only 23% believing the government is doing a good job. 70% of Republicans consider illegal immigration a very big problem, compared to just 25% of Democrats. This partisan divide is further highlighted by the fact that Republicans generally prefer stricter immigration controls, while Democrats are more supportive of easing restrictions. Many cite economic anxieties, fearing that an influx of immigrants could potentially strain public resources, drive down wages in certain sectors, and intensify competition for jobs. These concerns reflect broader worries about economic stability and the equitable distribution of opportunities among citizens and newcomers alike. As has been seen, the government's response has been lacking, but the power of change lies not only in the hands of politicians. What can concerned citizens do to make a difference in their communities and protect American values?